financial assets, otherwise called as financial instruments. We have four: financial services, financial assets, markets and institutions. So we have covered financial services the last class, and today we'll be beginning with financial assets. Let's look at the meaning. A financial asset is a non-physical asset whose value is derived from a contractual claim such as bank deposits, bonds and stocks. Financial assets are usually more liquid than the other tangible assets such as commodities or real estate and may be traded on financial markets. Now, when we look at the meaning of financial asset, what is it? First thing, it's a non-physical asset. Now, there is no physical existence for this asset. It is only in the paper form or it is only in the electronic format like a share certificate, debenture certificate, etc. They do not have a physical form. How is it derived? From a contractual claim. Now, every time you buy or you invest into or purchase a share, you're investing your amount into that shares or those debentures for which you're going to receive a share certificate or a debenture certificate. So it's a contract between you and the company. For example, even a bank deposit, bond, stocks, all these are examples for what is a financial asset. Now these are intangible, as I told, they do not have a physical existence and it is easily traded on financial markets. Let's look at the characteristics of financial assets. There are 8 different characteristics: liquidity, marketability, collateral value, maturity period, transferability, cost, provision of options, tax provision. So these are the different 8 characteristics of financial assets. Let's look at it one by one. First point is liquidity. What do you mean by liquidity? It refers to the ease with which an asset or security can be converted into ready cash without affecting its market price. Now, all of you have heard about the National Stock Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange, right? Now, there what happens is your shares are traded on the stock exchange, right? Once the company gets registered with SEBI and it allows the public to subscribe its company shares, they become the shareholders, and then once the shares are being public from the second hand, that is in the secondary market, right? That is your stock exchanges, shares get bought as well as sold. You have heard about stock broking also, right? Just last financial service, one of the services provided was stock broking. That means whatever financial assets that you have, it is easily convertible into cash. Liquidity means convertible into cash. That means easy convertibility into cash without much hindrance or without much difficulty. Understand? Now today, because of technology and because of the advanced systems that we have in our stock exchange, to buy a particular share of a company, it's just a click away. To sell a particular share of a company, it's just a click away, right? And then the amount quickly gets credited in your bank account. It is that liquid. It's just a click away and the money is in your account. That's called as liquidity factor of financial assets. Second, marketability, which facilitates easy trading of the security in the secondary market. As I told earlier, stock exchanges are responsible for purchase and selling or sale of your shares or equity shares over there. And there you do not have to know the person who is buying that share. Yes, and there is no, you don't need to have a particular knowledge about the person who is going to buy your shares or from the person whom you're going to take the shares or purchase the shares, etc. There's no knowledge required and there's no identity required. It's just a click away, right? You can just easily trade off your shares in a even between a particular day or even particular minute, right? If you can see the stock exchanges, people sit in front of a large computer systems. They keep observing when is the market fluctuating. The prices rise, the prices fall. So marketability means that easily or without much hindrance you can transfer it or sell or purchase the shares in the secondary market. Point number 3, collateral value, which allows for pledging of instruments for obtaining loans from financial institution. Now we always heard that whenever you want to go take up a loan, correct? The bank is going to ask you for a pledge, or bank is going to ask you for a security. Now what you can commonly hear is people keeping their gold, right? Gold, jewelry, etc. They keep it as a security and then take a loan, or let's say they even keep home documents or a house documents and then take a loan, etc. Now this financial asset can also be pledged as instrument for obtaining loan. How is it? Now in case you have a debenture, right? You are a debenture holder for a Infosys company, for an example. Now that debenture amount is rupees 5 lakh. Understand? Debenture amount is rupees 5 lakh. That means what? You have lent money to the company and the company has to pay you periodical interest irrespective whether they earn profits or losses. Is that clear? Now you are a debenture holder. Now this debenture certificate that you have in your hand, if you want to take a loan, let's say from SBI Bank, you can keep this debenture certificate as a collateral or as a security and then take a loan. Is that clear? Maybe the loan amount is just 5 lakh rupees, right? Now because the company is entitled to pay you that amount, it will have as a good guarantee or as a good security for allowing or for sanctioning you a particular amount of loan. Is that clear? That is called as collateral value, which allows for pledging of instruments for obtaining loans from financial institutions. Number 4, maturity period. Now here financial assets are of various types of time period, okay? You have short term, you have medium term and you have long term. Again guys, it depends upon you as an investor, what is your risk taking capability. Understand? Some people can take up low risk, some people can take up medium risk, some people can take up high risk. So depending on the variations of investors' choices, even financial assets are available at different maturity period. Now you can either buy the share morning and sell it by afternoon, right? That's a very short time period life that the share has. Medium term, the other assets like debentures, if you have only 6 months time period, etc. Long term, let's say you take up a bond, right? Bond from government institution or a government issues a bond. That is a long term. Like it says to amount, let's say that bond is amount rupees 10 lakh or 50 lakh. Now that's a very long term financial asset. That all depends on what? Investors' risk taking capacity. For an example, as youngsters or individuals in their early 30s, right, who have just begun their employment, etc., they wouldn't be having much savings in their account. Reason? They have just begun their employment, right? So how much risk they can take up? They can take up very low risk. Understand? On the opposite side, let's take up those employees who have crossed 55 or 60, or let's say even they have retired employees of a particular organization. How much risk can they take up? They can take up high risk securities. Only reason that they have a backup of their savings. Even if they lose this amount of investment, they have a backup of a savings or a provident fund, etc. Understand? Only if you have enough savings or enough deposits in your name, you can further invest and take up the high amount of risk. But you have just started your employment, you have just started your job, you don't have much savings. If you're going to lose your investment, it is as good as you're losing your entire salary. Understand? So depending upon the risk-taking ability of the investor, you can take up different long-term, medium or short-term financial assets. 5. Transferability. It allows easy transfer of instruments from one person to another without much formalities. Now, before, thanks to technology, at least for now, but back then, even before the stock exchanges were completely technical in nature, there were, if you can look back at your history of how this exchanges started at basically Bombay, it's called as the banyan tree, where people used to come shout their prices. Okay, have you all listened how this auction works? No, they usually scream their prices, they shout their prices, 5 lakh. Then the auctioneer tells 5 lakh once, 5 lakh twice. Understood, right? Now, this is the same way in the stock exchange. I mean to say, very basic, before everything started, they used to scream the prices, and for them to settle down from whom the person has purchased to whom it has sold, etc. All these formalities to complete in paperwork, it would take almost a week. Understand, it would take almost a week to complete the details, change the ownership of the shares, convert into the new share certificate in the person's name, etc. Now, because of technology and because of all the updation, today transferring of shares is very much easy and it is hassle free. It does not require much of formalities, much of paperwork, because it's just you need to go to a share certificate online, just change the person's name, that's it, and then your share certificate is being transferred. Number 6, cost. Definitely, it is the expenses involved in buying and selling of financial instrument. Either if you have to buy a share certificate, yes, it will cost you. Whatever the share certificate prices, it can be 1000 rupees, it can be rupees 500, or it can be even rupees 10. So it's going to be varying. Even for, let's say, for an example, bond, a government bond, that also is going to cost you, right? The stamp duty, etc., all the other expenditures plus the bond purchase price. All this is called as the expenses involved in buying and selling of financial instrument. So if you as an investor want to take up or purchase a financial asset, then it will cost you an amount. The last two functions are, or characteristics are, number 7, provision of options. That is, callback and buyback options whereby the companies can buy or sell the securities from investors. Now, today, if you can see, when when the companies have issued a IPO, that is initial public offering, now you as an investor can go subscribe the shares. Now, over the years, today, let's say the company has subscribed or collected capital from all of you. Okay, each one of you, they have collected the capital, and you're all the shareholders, or let's say debenture holders also, etc. Now, over the 5-10 years down the line, what companies does is, by 2030 possibly 10 years down the line, the company is financially very stable. Understand? Company is financially very stable, and if you are a debenture holder of the company, it is liable for the company or a liability for the company to pay interest to you every single time period, right? So what the company does is, company has this provision of options called as callback or buyback options. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let's say one of you among the class are a debenture holder of rupees 5 lakh. You have contributed rupees 5 lakh to the company. Company says, instead of giving you interest every month or every time period, it is a liability or an expenditure for us. So what we are going to do is, we are going to pay back your 5 lakh completely and settle or close your debenture account. Understand? Only when the company is in that particular financially stable companies alone can take up this option. It is either called as callback or buyback options, where whatever money you invested into my company, I will pay you back and settle and close that account. Okay, only for this financial assets, companies or institution will have this option. The last point is tax provision. The return earned on the instruments is either taxable or tax free. Now remember, these financial assets, because okay, if you are owning a financial asset worth rupees 100, worth rupees 1000, how much return can you earn? Not much. But there are people who are high net worth individuals. We just discussed last class, right? Who are called as high net worth individuals, people who have a people who are wealthy, people who have good bank balance, etc. Right? Now these people are going to purchase almost 20% of the shares in a particular company. 20% I'm talking about, not 2 shares. Got it? Now that is a lot of amount of investment. Now, yes, once they've invested, definitely they'll get a return on that asset, right? Either it can be, if it's debenture, you will earn interest. If it's equity share, you will earn dividends on that particular investment. If it's a 20% of the whole stock in the company, then imagine how much money you will make just as a return on your investment. So the income tax department or the RBI will always keep a check of this huge returns. Now, according to your income tax provisions or income tax tax slabs, a person, there is a particular limit where you can earn a good amount of return on your investment. But if it crosses beyond a limit, then yes, you will have to pay taxes on your return. Okay, let's say for example a bank deposit. Every year you are earning from your fixed deposit rupees 50,000. Every year from your fixed deposit, only the interest, forget the principal, only the interest you are earning 50,000 rupees. That means it is beyond the tax slab of the laid down by the government of India. So let's say for an example it is 10,000 as a slab. So the rest of the 40,000 that you are earning is taxable. Understood? Beyond the limit, if you are earning the return on your investment, you are liable to pay taxes on your return. Now, what is tax free? There are also few of the avenues that government has launched, which encourages people to make savings. And yes, nobody wants to pay taxes, nobody is happy to pay taxes. Therefore government has launched like this, separate government bonds or separate government schemes that government has launched, where investment in that particular scheme alone will make your investment tax free. So no matter how much of investment or return you earn from those tax free schemes, you're not liable to pay taxes. Is that clear? So financial assets, there are both. Some of them are liable to pay taxes and some of them are not liable to pay taxes. That means it is a tax-free investment. Understood? These are the 8 different characteristics. It's liquidity, easy to convertible into cash, marketability, easily sold, collateral value to approach for a loan, maturity period depends on the investor's choice of risk, transferability, you don't have to know the party who's going to buy from you or who's going to sell the asset to you. Cost, any financial asset for you to own, you have to pay some expenses. Provision of options, that means companies can buy back if they're financially stable enough. And 8th one is tax provision. Either your instruments can be taxable or non-taxable depending on where your investment is.